was free. I've been feeling off track, wondering what's wrong with me, 'cause something got lost on the way. No, nothing feels the same, baby. I used to get lost in your fragrance, something like butterflies and ecstasy. Can we take it back, back on the phone? Whatever takes me back to what it used to be. Will you go back there with me? Back to when our love was free. Will you go back there with me? Back to when our love was free.
Let your music taste shine with Premium. Host a jam with your friends and share your favorite songs with the entire squad without ad breaks. You can also play your favorite album.
Your kind of music, all day, all night, right here on your only station, Power Radio.
Fruta big up tunazi waja tunazi fruta hata polarity cross alipatana na G kwa kosa kishandanga wadhi alidot hata mada wanabi goda alichange course neno alisambaza nani na yendo boss ona hii moose on a beat so to go lost I'm on my knees goda alichange course sold out I'm totally si chase denge kamene na chase gym nataka niwe legend kadenge nita AC nataka bima emblem na ndege na kaza breadwinner mpaka kembless kwa kembe sultan the other chicks tele tu mashavu shavu Mungu pekee wezidi kwa babu Fishes of men nyavu hatutambui beef baby tumanago tunazifruta tunazifruta tunaziwaja tunazifruta nasema blessings nazifruta tunazifruta tunaziwaja tunazifruta nasema blessings ya the boss nani of course wakomboka na hii Usemi dan rogaring kingdom in a suffer violence church robbering can't touch this in the finesse vision the biggie woo Missy Wallace skit high grade na hisi chalice positive energy ndo mina harness been here tangu sheng ya kauzi Mungu pekee sina stress ya mamuzi hii ni approach kuna den wana udhi sibishani kuna strength kwa sauti sitan the other chicks tele tu mashavu Mungu pekee wezidi kwa babu Fishes of men nyavu hatutambui beef baby tumanago blessings nazifruta tunazifruta tunaziwaja tunazifruta nasema blessings nazifruta tunazifruta tunaziwaja tunazifruta nasema blessings na cheki juu na cheki chini na cheki kando bado naamini na cheki juu na cheki chini na cheki kando bado naamini blessings nazifruta tunazifruta tunaziwaja tunazifruta nasema blessings nazifruta tunaziwaja tunazifruta nasema blessings
from sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. My name is Caroline Murote, and this is our Sheversations, the show where we amplify female voices. And you are tuned in to Power Radio, where you tune in and power up. And I would like to welcome you to another good conversation this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. And the last time we saw each other, heard from each other, was during the People's Dialogue Festival. And now I just want to check in. How are you doing? How has everything been? Sisi hapo Power Radio tumekuwa na a very, very long weekend courtesy of our bosses. So we're very grateful for the gift of rest. And that's something we're going to be talking about today, about burnout, about hustle culture, and what it actually looks like to take care of your mental health during this, banger after banger of work and bills and taxes. And I say like it's a time period. It's actually a lifetime. It's actually a lifetime of those things. So yes, I would like to welcome you to today's show. We have been welcomed by Manasseh Shalom, anticipate. And then we've had Stoney G was saying fruta. So let me know venye match yenu imekuwa. Yes, we were not able to have several conversations. We're not able to have several conversations, personal conversations, because last week was all about the People's Dialogue Festival. That is what we're doing today. We're having a recap, but meanwhile pale kwa DMs Caroline_Murote, Caroline Murote, and Carol at Carol Murote on TikTok. I want you to let me know how you have been. Do the same. Power Radio across all the socials. That would be Instagram, that would be YouTube, that would be TikTok, and that would be X. So I'm gonna need you to let me know how everything has been, how you guys have been keeping, and oh my goodness, have we not had an interesting change in weather? Oh my gosh, season ya kubeba umbrella kila siku imerudi. And honestly, one thing about me, I will never have a sweater in my bag, a water bottle, and an umbrella. Those are the things that I make sure I always carry, because you really never know utajipata wapi, in what kind of weather, what kind of situation. Because this is what my mom taught me. My mom taught me that you're not in control of the weather. It might be sunny, but does it not get cold every single evening? Are you assured that you're going to be in the house before it gets cold? So just carry a sweater. How heavy is your sweater? Just have a bag that can house your sweater, because mi najua pia nikibeba na mkono ntaacha. I cannot tell you how many sweaters I have donated in my lifetime. Aki, the last one, iliniuma. It was such a beautiful, nice black hoodie. Big. Unajua these big hoodies that you can wear with anything, at any point, anywhere. Very warm, but also you can style it up. Yani, it was such a, akinasikia kulia. And ask me how I lost that hoodie. Niliacha tu kwa matatu. Nilidonate. I was seated in the matatu. I put it next to me because the matatu was mostly empty. I was going to visit a friend up in Nairobi, and I was coming from Athi River guy. Yani nilifika nikasikia uchungu. I felt pain, because you can't call your sweater. You can't call your sweater. And if those are not your local matatus, unanzia wapi? Alafu umeiacha nyuma, hata it's not even near the driver's seat where dere atakuwekea hapo mbele. Maybe. No. Alafu umelipa na pochi, ujalipa na send money, at least tujaribu kupigia huyo konda, umwambie, hey, could you please get my sweater for me? Guys, I've said I'm not carrying anything in my hand. Water bottle in my hand is going to be donated. Ntashinda nikitafuta. Umbrella in my hand is going to be donated. So yeah, that's what my mom taught me. Like, make sure you carry whatever it is that you need, because you're not in control of the weather. And I'm so grateful. Like, hini jana usiku around 10:30 sijui mi nilikuwa gashia. I don't know where you guys were. You can let me know where you guys were. It was the rain, thunder and lightning, guys. Alafu unajua venye tumezoea trauma za stima zitapotea. Thank God pale gashia zinakuanga zimebehave. Siku hizi stima zimebehave. I am so grateful. We had a bunch of very old transformers which were replaced. I'm so grateful that our weather does not impact the electricity. Lakini I was like, for sure the lights are gonna go off. Venye nilisikia mvua, I plugged in my phone, and then the way it became so heavier, I was so sure electricity was gonna go off. And it didn't, which means that it has nothing to do with heavy rain has everything to do with management. And now I want some of you who have relatives at Kenya Power, or you understand how the power grids work, the power systems. What is the correlation between rain and us not having electricity? I want to understand. I really, 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 really want to understand, because it hasn't made sense to me. I've had a whole lifetime of trauma because unajua tu mvua, most places in Africa means that electricity is gonna go. But anyways, tuachane na hiyo. Please carry your umbrellas. Tuzoyane na matope tena. Just be leaving your house earlier because the weather patterns, rain actually impacts the traffic patterns. And I don't know what that is. Ni ati watu wanaogopa kutoka mapema, so they leave later. Is it that they sleep in? Is it that nobody's driving fast? Hakuna mse ametoka mapema. What is it that makes, when it's raining or when it's rainy? Because unaiza pata kunyeshi. Like right now the weather is rainy because rain clouds are everywhere. It's gonna, at any moment now, I wouldn't be surprised if it rained. But what does that have to do with, if it's not raining right now, what does that have to do with traffic? Because I realized that at Leo, as I was on my way to work, there was there was extra traffic. Ebu mnieleze hiyo maneno. Maybe I'm the one who normally doesn't understand. Alafu, let me know what you guys are excited for. Tumeanza mwaka mpya for the manyth time, and this is the last time we could have started the new year, okay? If you're still in denial about starting your 2025, I'm so sorry. In this case now, Delulu is not the Solulu, guys. It's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for any of us. Sasa, to accept that the new year has started now, you actually need to get stuff moving. You actually need to get stuff done. And what we are going to be doing this particular year, now that we have started the year fresh, Mimi Caroline Murote, and my fellow friends of We Need to Start Again, is that we're going to be having impactful conversations here that amplify female voices. So we are going to be talking about sexual and reproductive health. We are going to be talking about mental health. Kamakawa, that one is a feature. It features all the time, the way Lil Wayne was featuring on everybody's songs in the early 2000s. Yeah, na Sean Paul. But what do I know about that? I know nothing about that. We are going to be talking about relationships, mapenzi. We are going to be talking about leadership. We're going to be talking about women in different leadership spaces. We're going to be talking about women in entrepreneurship, and we're going to be talking about what does it look like to bridge the gap. Also, pia wasanii, tusisahau wasanii wetu. These are the things that we have in store for you, and these are some of the things that were really, really discussed during the People's Dialogue Festival, and there were different villages. We're gonna look into that. We were informed last week Monday when our guest from the Center for Multi-Party Democracy actually let us know what we should have expected. So yeah, we had 7 different villages. We had the Nisasa village, which was essentially the children's village. We had the sexual and reproductive health village. We had the youth village. We had the finance village. Finance something. We had the SDGs village. We had the political village. So yeah, those are some of the villages that we had at the People's Dialogue Festival, and then you can tell that those are the things that were being covered in conversation. And worry not, we are going to break it down in case you missed the People's Dialogue Festival, because we covered it all a week long last week. I'm going to be having a recap. We're going to have a recap on today's Sheversation on the different conversations that matter, and we're gonna look into that when we come back from this break.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Hey, Nanjora wa Manjaro. Mini weni mouse. Tufike pale Disney, ribbon shati na blouse. Uliza Tom and Jerry kapati nataka clowns. Ama 2 stupid dogs, sisi tuko down bet. Nimepanga nina space here too. Date kama tunda, breakfast for 2. Tuseme nina hope ya you. Vile tuko fuku cheza kama cartoons. Here you go, Pewa balloon, miss canning hum, I'm your bear balloon. Call call it serendipity, vile na feel so due. Who knew to odd ones could even out the mood. Love TBT kama rapa magoo, sweet kama pipi shika rapa I do. Si mas kwenda kinkipewa sweetie ya you. Ni mimi ni tekiti role play ni through. So come through hapo kwangu kama 5+2. You like food, nina wagu ina sick na soup. You want proof? Okay, maybe ni kanyagu ya chum. Babora time na you, the rest si must to do. To vibe mama, kama rumba mama. Improvise na cham, hamna haraka hata. Mina wewe dada, ni time so tam sana. Songea karibu mama, hii ni just for you. Cause nimepanga nina space ya tu. Date kama tunda breakfast for two. Tuseme nina hope ya you. Vile tuko free kucheza kama cartoons. Nimepanga nina space ya tu. Date kama tunda breakfast for two. Tuseme nina hope ya you. Vile tuko free kucheza kama cartoons.
Dexter na Johnny Bravo. Tumekuja na ingine form juvenile. Sijui tukuite superwoman. Baby umeweza kama Kim Possible. Undeniable. Kelly tukaue. Ekangu tapie nuwe resident. Na kwa president. Maembe maukamba God nothing on you, yeah. Makwasi masoso ni meue. Ukangonye kusua no aisieli kaiele ele. Na kwa nina space for you, yeah.
Nimepanga nina space ya tu. Date kama tunda breakfast for two.
Breakfast for you.
Tuseme nina hope ya you. Vile tuko free kucheza kama cartoons. Nimepanga nina space ya tu. Date kama tunda breakfast for two. Tuseme nina hope ya you. Vile tuko free kucheza kama cartoons.
Cha baba, cha mama. Kalongolongo nivo hapana, nivo hapana. Cha mama, cha baba. Kalongolongo nivo hapana.
That's what he said to me. Rudi nyumbani, doesn't matter what you did. Shoka Moshe, that's what he said to me. Rudi nyumbani, doesn't matter what you did.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Maisha ina stress but sitachoka. Manake mimi skaya mimi nyota. Mungu peke ndio mimi nitaogopa. Kepeka suna choma 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 choma. Daily na meremeta, fomu yangu ni kutesa. Usikol kama si pesa, bade najipeleka. Inaselela, lumbola, mande mana lose composure. We catch flies, now feelings. Leo tuna dance for ceiling. Don't waste my time, don't miss my energy. Don't kill my vibe, don't miss my energy. Let's take a ride, just fly around with me. Let's spend some time, just spend some time with me. Feeling important, feeling like something is coming all over me. Feel like a soldier, feel like I'm going to war with the enemy. I've gotten older, I'm very comfortable with my identity. It's never over, I'm ready, I'm willing, I'm willing. I'm feeling hypnotized, I'm feeling like a child. I need to realize, I'm feeling so alive. I take off my disguise, and I get myself the prize. I don't mean to die, all I can do is try. Don't waste my time, don't miss my energy. Don't kill my vibe, don't miss my energy. Let's take a ride, just fly around with me. Let's spend some time, just spend some time with me. Some people search and seek until they find the light. Some people think that everything they think is right. Some people don't believe in peace, they want to fight. Some people not my type, some people not the vibe. Shangilia, pango yote imepangiliwa. Shida yetu yote tatuliwa. Maisha yetu imebarikiwa. Shangilia, pango yote imepangiliwa. Shida yetu yote tatuliwa. Maisha yetu imebarikiwa.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Already. Yes. So we had Energy from Polaris Pauline featuring Modoni, the drama queen, and Mayonde. And I hope that you are enjoying that playlist. And in case you're wondering what's been going on in the women's spaces and just interesting stories around Kenya and Africa, here is a few of them recently. Some of them from last week, some of them from this week. Yes. So this particular week, Jana, to be specific, there was a vigil held for a deceased content moderator from Nigeria. Very, very sad. And her name was Ladi Anzaki Olubumi, a Nigerian content moderator for TikTok, and she was employed by Teleperformance Kenya. And Olubumi's decomposing body was unfortunately found in her Nairobi home after she had been unable to return to Nigeria for 2 years. And her colleagues reported that she had complained of fatigue and a desire to go home. And Teleperformance Kenya denied claims that leave was denied. So the content moderators in Kenya had previously reported poor working conditions, low pay, and the lack of mental health support. So the jury is still out on that one as to what happened. Was it a case of suicide? Was it a case of she was unwell due to her working condition? So this is very, very sad. We're going to look at burnout and the culture that we have in our country and the relationship that we have with work and rest and so on and so forth. Another story is that the mother of teenage bride in South Sudan comes out of hiding to be with her pregnant daughter. And Deborah Kuyach, the mother of an alleged child bride in South Sudan, and when we say alleged, most likely it is true. She has left hiding because she went into hiding. Yes, we'll explain why. So she left hiding to join her pregnant 14-year-old daughter. Alleged child bride. I don't know. The alleged might be about the bride, because definitely 14 years is a child. So what are we alleging actually? Yeah. So she left hiding to be with her pregnant 14-year-old daughter. It kills me every time I have to say pregnant 14-year-old. And the daughter's name is Atiak Dao Riak in Nairobi. And Yach had opposed the marriage. So the mom had opposed her daughter's marriage, but faced threats from her family and went into hiding for 8 months because her life was in danger. And now, determined to support her daughter, who is due to give birth, Yach is following their Dinka tradition, which dictates that a daughter should give birth in her mother's presence. And the marriage that this 14-year-old Atiak, the marriage was to Chol Maroldeng, a man in his 40s living in Canada. And it is customary but not legally finalized due to South Sudanese laws against child marriage. Very interesting. And Yach plans to protect her young daughters from similar fates by enrolling them in Kenyan schools and hoping to eventually move to Canada with her brother's support. So this is very interesting, because you would think that mtu mwenye akona exposure hiyo ni kizongea wapi, exposure kumfikisha majuu. First of all, we just need money and permits. You don't need exposure. But you would think somebody that's living in, you would imagine that a man living in Canada in his 40s wouldn't be looking for a 14-year-old child bride. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Child marriages are still an extremely serious phenomenon, and we are very, personally, I'm upset. I'm very, very not okay. Yes, USAID, bado tunaongelea USAID. So kumekuwa na health crisis, and the US government's freeze on foreign aid has severely disrupted the distribution of antiretroviral ARV medications in Kenya. And approximately 34 million worth of medicines and equipment remain stranded in warehouses, affecting around 1.4 million Kenyans living with HIV, many of whom are women. Patients are experiencing shortages, while some receiving only 1 week supplies of ARVs. Kenyan officials are working to mobilize funds to release the supplies within weeks. This is according to Reuters. Reuters, wow. I don't know what to say, because this was an anti-corruption strike against USAID that is affecting Kenyans, and this speaks. It speaks a lot. It speaks volumes, as to the repercussions of corruption. It's not just you. You're not the only one who's held to account. There's a lot of people. When you break down systems that are meant to support people that are underserved, this is what we end up with. And that's very, very sad for the millions of Kenyan women. 1.4 million Kenyans living with HIV, most of whom are women. That's very, very sad. And another interesting story is that a Kenyan officer's body has been returned from IT. This is a body of Samuel Tompoe Kai Twai. Yes, a Kenyan police officer who died in Haiti and was received by his family and senior police officers here in Nairobi. And Kai Twai was fatally shot by gangs in Western Haiti on February 23rd, marking the first death of a Kenyan officer since the mission's deployment in June. The mission is a UN-backed effort to combat violent gangs with around 800 Kenyan police officers leading the deployment. So this is very sad, because why are our soldiers in IT? To this day, I don't understand. And perhaps I'm very ignorant as to the mandate of our defense forces and the police forces. I might be ignorant as to the codes that they have, the value systems that they have, but it makes no sense to me why we have 800 Kenyan police at the front line in IT, which is a UN-backed mission. It doesn't make any sense to me. it doesn't. And now we have lost Samuel Tompoe Kaitwai. May his soul rest in peace. This is very, very, very sad. And then we have Arabica Coffee Day 2025 has been announced, and Kenya is preparing for Arabica Coffee Day 2025 that is scheduled on March 14, 2 days from now, at the E4 Impact Entrepreneurship Center in Karen, Nairobi. And this event aims to bring together farmers, industry experts, policymakers, as well as investors to discuss the future of Kenya's coffee sector. Discussions will focus on sustainability, quality, and market trends, addressing challenges such as climate change and improving cooperative governance. Women's participation in the coffee sector is key focus, and these initiatives are aimed at empowering female farmers as well as entrepreneurs. So something very interesting about Kenya's coffee is the fact that we do not drink our best coffee, that the best of Kenya's coffee is actually exported abroad, and we could not afford it. Sisi kama common wananchi, the prices, first of all, you can rarely find it, and number two, it's not to be found. So I'm very interested to see the findings and the outputs of this discussion, because every time I think about Kenyan coffee and how growing up, I was taught about Kenya having the best coffee in the world, Kenya and Ethiopia having the best coffee in the world, Kenya, Malawi having the best tea in the world, Kenya being one of the biggest exporters of flowers in the world. I was very shocked to grow up and find out that we don't drink any of that, and that most of that is not accessible to us. So I hope that the E4 Impact Entrepreneurship Center is going to address some of those challenges that we have. And I love that they are aiming to empower female farmers as well as entrepreneurs in this particular event. And so the government has issued a closure notice to certain hospitals as recently as yesterday. These hospitals operating within petrol stations as well as residential buildings. And this decision follows concerns over health and safety risks posed to patients, particularly women and children. And the affected facilities are required to comply with regulatory standards of phase closure. Mimi najua a lot of those hospitals are in Syokimau. I don't know what's going on in Syokimau. I don't understand what in the cartel of hospitals is going on in Syokimau, guys. But oh my goodness, every third institution in Syokimau is a clinic or a hospital. Ziko tu hapo kwa shopping center, they're everywhere. They're in the estates. I'm just like, okay, how sick are you guys? What kind of cartel business is going on here? What in the mafia? Like, do you have a factory where you're just churning out sick people? Because who is actually being catered to? And I'm not saying that there's an issue with having health facilities. By all means, we should have health facilities in our communities. But oh my goodness, guys, please just go and visit Syokimau. Just hiyo strip tu hata msingie ndani. Hiyo barabara main. Tukisema ati tumeingia Syokimau, hiyo barabara main. Just go in there and just count. Come and tell me. Inbox me, text me, Caroline_Murote, Caroline Murote. On TikTok, it's at Cara Murote. Power Radio across all the socials. Let us know how many hospitals and clinics. So you'll tell us the hospitals as well as the clinics. Tell us how many you have counted in Syokimau. So yeah, I'm actually okay with this. Unfortunately, we know that it's the citizens that are going to struggle, because the government is very good at clamping down on, whatever it is that they deem and it's not standardized, it's not regulation, okay. But when it comes to delivering what they should be delivering, it becomes a very awkward situation. And something else here is that we've had new rules for scrap metal imports and exports announced. Wadau, I don't know about you people, but there's somewhere I lived in Pale at the River Lukenya where if you had a metal gate, unajua tu wanawakujia. You would wake up one day and there is no gate in your neighborhood because the scrap metal thieves have come pale Gashie pia there's a whole location where kuna yard imejazwa tu na wire. Utaona tu some random guys walking around with gunias, walking around with bags to carry all of this little scrap metal. So the scrap metal business is not a joke. It's not a joke. So the story is that there's been new regulations governing the import and export of scrap metal that have been introduced in our country, and the rules aim to enhance efficiency in the sector, curb illegal activities, let's see about that, and to promote environmental sustainability. While the direct impact on women may be limited, the improved regulatory environment is expected to benefit communities by reducing environmental hazards. Okay, guys, it's fine. All right. And the government has provided an update on bank withdrawals for certain Kenyan beneficiaries. Those who fail to act within the extended period may be removed from the system. That's very interesting. And affected individuals are advised to complete unnecessary procedures promptly to avoid inconveniences. This particular update is particularly relevant for women who rely on government disbursements for household support. So yes, this is an update on bank withdrawals for select Kenyans. So if you are one of those, please act on that quickly before things get awkward between you and your money, because money sometimes makes the world go round, and in Kenya this is particularly true. Now we have a pastor that has been released on bond after a murder charge. Wow. So a pastor from Gatundu South. Watu wa Gatundu shida inakuanga wapi? You guys feature on the news a lot. Ni kama pale Florida man. If you just Google, kama umeboeka, let me do you a favor. Let me do you one. Florida man. Just go and Google Florida man. In Kenya, the equivalent to Florida man is Kakamega man. Because the amount of stories on Kakamega man does this, Kakamega man does that, I don't understand. But Pia Gatundu is running, there's always corruption, bad stories. Hey, watu wa Gatundu. Adwanyoba. Shida iko wapi? I'm just na mawaru. Anyways, a pastor from Gatundu South, Patrick Kagunda Karanja, has been released on a 2 million shillings bond after pleading not guilty to murder charges. So he is accused of murdering Francis Agishini on the 3rd of February 2025, that's last month, in Gatundu South sub-county. And the case continues to attract public attention, with community members, including women, expressing concerns over safety and justice. I'm not going to lie. Small relief that it was not a woman that was killed. However, I don't want anybody dying. I'm sure you guys don't want anybody dying. Yeah? Now, kidogo pale internationally, the EU plans to counter tariffs on US goods. The European Union has announced plans to impose counter tariffs on over 28 billion worth of US goods starting next month. This move is in response to US tariffs on steel and aluminium, and the trade dispute has significant implications for global markets, including Kenya's economy, potentially affecting women's livelihoods and sectors reliant on imports and exports. So this is what a lot of my very unhinged locals, huku kwetu Kenya, will call white on white crime. Honestly, guys, this news, I don't know. I want to comment on this maturely, but it's also a relief when hakuna Africa hapo. Unfortunately, what you don't see in this story is how this is going to affect us. Because unaona hapo, it's actually affecting imports and exports. And if you realize how much of our economy is hinged on imports and exports, then you would be very, very concerned. So yes, the immature part of me wants to just celebrate that this has nothing to do with Africa, and the big wigs are fighting amongst themselves. Unfortunately, when the elephants are fighting, it is the grass that suffers. So always remember that every time mnaona pale the European Union, mnaona US, alafu mnasikia po imports and exports, be very, very concerned for our continent. Very, very concerned. Yes. And Angola is to broker talks between Congo and the M23 rebels. Wow. Angola has offered to mediate direct talks between the Democratic Republic of Congo and the M23 rebels. This is very interesting, seeing that Angola also has been a victim of a lot of civil war for the longest time, and has seen a lot of instability in the past decades. So I like where this is coming from, but it's also like that time when was it 2 years ago when Malawi came to Kenya to benchmark on good governance and anti-corruption practices. And I scram because I was like, okay, I guess if they think that we're doing well, let them learn. But truly, what are we learning? Hopefully they went away with something. Cindy, so for Angola and helping fix the horrible things that are going on in Congo, DRC Congo, all the best to that. Not being pessimistic, but in the spirit of just being realistic and just hoping for the best anyway. We are going to have a couple of jams and then we're going to come back and recap the PDF, the People's Dialogue Festival 2025.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Baby, turn around and pull up to me bumper. Your skin smooth like jojoba. Ati wanafanya nini? Wanaogopa. Dark skin and nachota. Melanin all over. Nobody can boka. Well, they tried sometime back in November. They really didn't think I would remember. Sahi, my confidence in my rise. I never used to be like this before. I used to be so damn insecure. I took a dark skin lana. Haters are working loud. Nothing ever sweet like coco. Get on the dance floor, make them loco. You say you like Olocomba. Baby, turn around and pull up to me bumper. Your skin smooth like jojoba. Ati wanafanya nini? Wanaogopa. Dark skin and nachota. Melanin all over. Nobody can boka. You say you like Olocomba. Baby, turn around and pull up to me bumper. Your skin smooth like jojoba. Ati wanafanya nini? Wanaogopa. Dark skin and nachota. Melanin all over. Nobody can boka. Yeah. You don't know how I like your confidence. The way you walk, how you talk, it's evident. Black is the beauty, so more for them. You are a star. Brown skin, una kill. Oh, show them who you are. You are a star. Brown skin, una kill. Oh, show them who you are. You like a loco. Like a loco, you like that toto. Like that toto star. You like a loco. Like a loco, you like that toto. Like that toto star. You like a loco. Like a loco, you like that toto. Like that toto star. You like a logo. Like a loco, you like that toto. Like that toto star.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
You used to call me your little bird, Kanyoniga kwa kainaga. For when your spirit sank low, I'd sing them off the floor for you. The other buddies, yeah, they told me they saw you watching from the balcony. We want to bring you up here to help us with the cheer of life. You said no, you never sang, you didn't know and didn't want to. And so we wrote a song for you. We wrote it in a day or two. A song about birds that watch other birds sing tunes. And it goes ooh. You said you'd like to try to sing. Would anybody really listen then? What if it wasn't that great? Or maybe it's too late to learn something. The other buddies will be listening, and they will help you in a heartbeat. We want to bring you up here to help us with the cheer of life. We watched you close your eyes, spread your wings, get ready to fly. And you sang, ooh. And rejoiced. This is a song I wrote for you. I hope you're somewhere out there listening to your little bird and all the other birds sing tunes.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Sikubebanga sweta, kumbe hukuwedhani ngori. But I'ma call you later, tell you all about it. Nina mismo tura, smoky pasua, avocado ya group of schools. Cause it tastes different out here, and I miss you when you're not here. Mimi ni koma juu, flying, grinding. Tell you when I come through. Oh na 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 na, oh na na. Mimi ni koma juu, flying, grinding. Tell you when I come through. Oh na 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 na, oh na na. Yeah, 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 yeah. Aki Wendy, ningekuletea fenti, si ati ni juicy pendi, bagi imejaa, nimetumwa na watu wengi. To my lover and my sons, I'll be home soon. Nina miss tukilala in the afternoon. After church tukipitia Kikuyu. Can't wait to come home and hold you. Mimi niko majuu, flying, grinding. Tell you when I come through. Oh na 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 na, oh na na. Mimi niko majuu, flying, grinding. Tell you when I come through. Oh na 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 na, oh na na.
from sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Welcome back. And a question to you, Ukomaju, ama uko Kenya. So I hope that everything is going well with you because Fi Akomaju ataki kujua maneno yetu. Akomaju, and right before that we had Kanyoni by Barbara Wangoing and Dark Skin by Brandy Minor. Now I promised you that we are going to recap the People's Dialogue Festival 2025, and we are looking into the conversations that matter. Yeah. So if in case you missed it, don't worry. I got you. And we need to keep talking about certain matters long after the festival hype dies down. And this is why we're having this conversation because to be honest, so many different conferences where people talk, they take pictures, and then they go home. But does anything actually change is what we want to know. So let's get into it. So PDF. Why do events like PDF even matter? What is it for? It's a simple response. It's one of the few events where young people, activists, as well as leaders actually sit on the same table to discuss real issues. I saw that live, so I can say that was well done. Now, in our country, we have a very bad habit, yani tabia mbaya kabisa, of ignoring young voices when making decisions. So when spaces like this exist, spaces like PDF, we need to show up as well as make noise. So now, tunajiuliza kama at this event, are we just vibing or are we actually moving the needle? So let's find out. One of the reasons why I asked this is because, for example, we had the hashtag Occupy Parliament protests, which a lot of you don't know actually started in 2016. A lot of us know that anything that has to do with Occupy Parliament started in 2024. It actually started in 2016. And the reason why a hashtag and a movement that popped off in 2016 is alive in 2024 is because it hasn't been catered to. Nobody has actually paid attention. Because wezi niambia na strike juu I'm not allowed. I'm being forced to keep long hair. I'm being forced to keep long hair. So I'm protesting and I am striking. And then 10 years later, I'm protesting for the same thing. But it's changed. You only protest for the same thing if there has not been changes. So kumanisha from 2016, 8 years later, the Occupy Parliament protests had not been catered to. They didn't achieve much. And honestly, at that time, people got fed up with endless taxes. Does it sound familiar? And if those frustrations were actually addressed properly before reaching that level, would we be where we were last year? Absolutely no. And this is why forums such as PDF matter. And what these forums are, they're supposed to be warning systems before things actually explode. And at that particular time back in 2016, the Kenyan youth were grappling with the increasing unemployment because it was bad. It was bad then, na sasa sai. Economic inequality has been an issue as well as rising taxes. And instead of having proactive dialogues about these issues in spaces like the People's Dialogue Festival, we saw the government continuing to focus on short-term fixes, which led to more frustration and ultimately more protests, right? So what are we saying about this? We're saying talking is cute, absolutely, but action is where it's at. After these conversations, we need to write, we need to organize, we need to call out leaders, and we need to push policies to be actualized. Because if all we do is attend, take selfies as well as go home, nothing changes, absolutely nothing at all. And the real work actually begins when we take those conversations back to our communities and start making changes locally with long-term vision in mind. That is why we need the People's Dialogue Festival, just as an example. Now, shorties, the girlies, what are we to do? We are supposed to engage with intention. Engage intentionally. Don't just show up for the photo op. Take the spaces seriously. Women need to take active roles in discussions, whether it's about politics, it's about social justice or leadership. Not just to be seen looking good, ladies, but also to be heard. creating change and lending our voices to the changes that we want to see. The girlies need to be pushing for policy changes. We need to be vocal in pushing for policy reforms that reflect women's interest, because in spaces like this, you get to mingle with politicians, and especially those that provide a better future for the next generation, because the People's Dialogue Festival is all about sustainability, sustainable future, a sustainable democracy. And also, again, the girlies need to mobilize locally. After the event ends, what do? You don't let the conversations die, the way we're doing here on Sheversations, keeping the conversation alive. We need to take the momentum back to our communities, back into our spaces, get involved in our local women's groups, as well as start organizing grassroots initiatives that challenge systemic issues. So this is a homework for the girlies for the People's Dialogue Festival when it comes to understanding that these festivals and these events and these forums are important, and this is how we can participate in being a part of the change. This is how we can force ourselves to be heard and to be represented in the policies that we are asking for, that we need, that our future needs, in order for it to be sustainable and to be something that we are proud of and glad to have been a part of. So what are some of the issues that were discussed at the People's Dialogue Festival? So we had quite the conversation on youth and leadership. Yeah? Youth and leadership was a big theme at the People's Dialogue Festival. There was a lot of young people, a lot of leaders, and a lot of young leaders. And the question here is, are we being heard, or are we just being used for optics? Personally, I would like to know. So there was a youth village. There was a youth village at PDF where the main topic was getting young people into leadership. But let's ask the real question, actually. Do young people actually care about politics, or are they just tired of the same old nonsense? Personally, as a young person, I don't care much for politics, but I'm forced to, because politics dictates whether I eat or not. Politics dictates the nature and the condition of the roads that I use every day to get from place to place. Politics determines how I interact with the authorities, the justice systems, the law, police officers, and so on and so forth. My means of transport, petrol, all of this. Politics determines a lot of these things. I personally don't have any other interest beyond my well-being and the well-being of my fellow, my fellow countrymen. But I am tired of the same old nonsense. Personally, I am tired of the same old nonsense, and that is why I care to be involved, because I am sick and tired, and I realize that if I don't do anything about it, nothing is going to happen. So this is what we're saying, that if we took over, would we even do better, or would we just become the same old corrupt leaders that we complain about? Good examples is we had our friend Pale Casmuel Makare, we had Kerara, we had those guys. Those guys were our faves during Mandamano, post Mandamano, took our support. We were proud. That's after we said that we are leaderless, we are faceless, and that we are just young people. And now we have those examples of people that we didn't know wanted to take up political leadership. And maybe there's something that they understood, that your voice and the noise that you're making actually means nothing if you're not vying for political power. Because the criticism was that they were doing this for clout so that they can line their pockets as they align themselves with the political movements where they can vie for seats and possibly enrich themselves. There is a part of me that deeply believes that these young people wanted change, but that there are no structures that allow them to create change outside of politics, and they realize that they have to get into the game. I'm not defending their shenanigans. Honestly, shame on them, because a lot of the things they've done and said are quite shameful and not representing the young people of this country. However, what happens now? And I feel like the youth vote needs to be consolidated. Because if young people were able to unite during the Gen Z protests, during the Mandamano 2024, how else are we going to get the leaders that we want if we are not united? That's the question. So if we are to end up in those positions of leadership, what would be different? What would be different? Now, why we're talking about this is because we have somebody like John Paul Munyiri, who became an MP at 23 years. 23 years. Those are alikuwa Gen Z, yeah. The Gen Z of today, he was that in 2017. Yeah, very young person. And everyone was excited about youth representation. But here's the tea. Here's the tea, guys. How much has changed for the youth in his Igembe South constituency? Now, in 2020, his constituency was still struggling with issues such as inadequate infrastructure and lack of access to quality education. And that's the real test, because getting elected is one thing, but actually making a difference is another. His time in office has been questioned by many youth leaders who argue that representation is more than just a number. It's about tangible change. Now, some of the conversations we had at the People's Dialogue Festival were about what does it actually look like to create change? And when you are elected as an MP, how much power do you actually hold? And what are the bureaucracies and the protocols and the systems that determine how you're able to achieve something or not achieve something if you are actually trying? And it was very interesting to realize that it's a very collaborative system where the ward of that particular area, the MCAs of that particular area actually are to be held to account when it comes to a lot of these changes, even before you start looking for the MP of that particular area. I don't know if that's what happened with John Paul Munyiri. I cannot speak for him, but what I can say is that we need to educate ourselves on democratic processes. Because if we're not educated, we will continue to hold the wrong people to account and not allow these systems to work for us. Because when we protest at the wrong office, for example, mkuje huku Power Radio, because I'm talking about it, and you say that your local constituency has bad roads, and I have said that I'm going to do my best to make a difference where I can, and then you come and protest outside of the offices, or you come and you invade and occupy, #Occupy Studio, there's nothing I can do for you. As much as you had an expectation, it is unrealistic and unfounded because I am not the one to address those concerns. The question is, what is this people's jobs? What are their jobs? Do you actually know what your ward officer's job is? Do you know what your MCA's job is? Your women reps office is supposed to do? Do you understand what the MP is supposed to do? What your senator should be doing? What your governor should be doing? If we don't understand what these particular parties are supposed to be doing, we are going to be bucking up trees that don't bear any fruit. Now, another interesting case, we have Millie Odhiambo, bad girl Millie, a Kisumu-born activist and member of parliament, and she's known for her stance on issues such as gender equality. So while she has made some impact, is it enough to inspire the youth across the country to view politics differently? Do you want to be like bad girl Millie? We're still trying to figure out if young MPs can truly change the culture of Kenyan politics, or if they're just going to blend into the same system that shut them out in the first place. Heavy sigh. Heavy sigh. Heavy sigh. So what are we to do? What are we to do? We need politics that force a youth representation in government. And a good example of this is Rwanda. They actively give young people space to lead. And Rwanda has set an example by implementing policies that require a certain percentage of parliamentary seats to be filled by young people and women. So they don't just have the 2/3 gender rule. I don't know what they call it, but they also have a quota for young people. And that's truly commendable. And this has been creating a ripple effect for future leadership models across Africa, because here we are talking about it. In case you didn't know that Rwanda actually creates space for young people to take up seats at the table in political leadership, now you know. And we need to be supporting these young politicians financially. If we can crowd fund Harambe for a wedding, we can Harambe for leaders we believe in. Yes. And leadership isn't just political office. We can influence policies through activism as well as social media, which we already do, guys. Your social media is not just to insult people and to post weird, questionable selfies, but it's also, you can actually support and influence policies, which is what we saw during the Reject Finance Bill protest. Yeah. And leadership is also about community work. So young people actually need to realize that they hold power through organizing collective action that goes beyond elections. Now, how can you do this? You can do this in your local space. If you're a dancer, then look for music. There was quite a few bangers, Zamanda Mano, and around that time. And before that, we've had the likes of Sarabi Band, we've had the likes of Giuliani, we've had poetry by different artists throughout, spoken word pieces about democracy, about proper governance. Find music like that and create to it. Create hashtags. Have conversations. Make it a TikTok challenge. If I was an MP, and then go and interview young people. Hey, how old are you? And let us know what you would do if you're an MP. And then go out realizing what gaps there are in our information systems and fill those gaps. It needs to become a trend. Let us trend because we're teaching each other, not because we have a crisis, finance bill tenor, because at the end of the day, it needs to be continuous, because this nation was shaken by those protests. The anti-finance bill protests shook this country, shook the leadership, shook Africa. The world took note that Kenyans and young Kenyans were saying something. It was on all international media. They did stories on the anti-finance bill protests. So if we were to make it a lifestyle to educate one another when there is no crisis, wouldn't that change things? Wouldn't that change what the topography on social media looks like? That's what I'm challenging you, young person. Use your device to create change. Ask yourself, in the things that I'm creating, how is it making a difference? Now, for the girlies, ladies and gentlemen, we need to be running for office. Yeah? Youth and leadership. This conversations about youth and leadership has it to husu if we're not running for office. Women need to stop waiting for the perfect time. Perfect time, it doesn't exist. They need to stop waiting for the perfect time to get involved in leadership. And if we want representation, we have to start by showing up. We need to be bold in our aspirations, whether this is in political office, community leadership, or the corporate world. We just need to show up and take up those positions. Another thing the girlies need to be doing is to hold leaders accountable. If you're not seeing the change, ask the hard questions. Be bold, be vocal. Don't let young male leaders or other elected officials skate by without delivering results for the communities that they represent, for our communities that they represent. We need to organize women's groups to keep leaders in check. And we also need to develop leadership skills. Wamama, we need to develop leadership skills. We need to seek mentorship as well as training. We need to get equipped with the tools that we need to serve as effective leaders. And we need to go beyond just being elected, but being prepared to actually lead and create change, because we know how much frustration there has been over the women rep positions, and how a lot of Kenyans have been frustrated that we've been advocating for women and women and women and women. And now you have taken these positions of power. What are you actually doing with them? So we need to actually put leaders up there who are qualified, who are skilled, who actually know what to do with this power that they have been granted when it comes to representing us. Uko maju, malifi alikuwa, fi alituambia kwa maju. So yeah, up there in parliament and spaces of leadership in corporate and entrepreneurship spaces, we need to be qualified to take up this particular roles. Yeah, so that was youth and leadership, and those are some of the conversations that were highlighted. I have a few rants, but not before we listen to Ombi by Shani and Sishikiki by Stony Jiwe.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
You feel like the world is on fire. Some days you feel like you're swimming and flying. Some days you wake up and you don't feel like you wanna chase what you don't see. But some days you feel like you're floating up high. So how about you try this time? Lifting up your head and sing out. What
What more than I see, there's more inside of me. Just lift up your voice and say, nitajaribu tena kesho, nitaamka upya na nisonge, hata wakipenda kunivunja, mambo yakizidi unga, sitashindwa kujivuta. Kesho naamka upya, kesho naamka upya. Some days I know that you think of surviving, but you sleep and wake up and don't feel like fighting. But there's space in your soul to keep wanting more, to desire to soar. But some days you know that their words, they mean nothing. So how about you try this time? Lifting up your head and say, what more than I see, there's more inside of me. Just lift up your voice and say, nitajaribu tena kesho, nitaamka upya na nisonge, hata wakipenda kunivunja, mambo yakizidi unga, sitashindwa kujivuta. Kesho naamka upya. Kesho.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
You already know.
Wake up, think it's my alarm, I stay stacked up. Thinking it's my charm, now I know your truth is where freedom begins. I'm prayed up, now I can define it again. Willpower never won any war, so I know to get to you, I gotta get on the floor. Shida zangu, yeah, I've been here before. Lakini kitu gani kweli, ni ngumu for my Lord. Maombi ni ibada, na magoti ndiyo njia kukupata. Daily, nipate nikisala, maisha yangu mina kupa wetawala. Say maombi ni ibada, na magoti ndiyo njia kukupata. Daily, nipate nikisala, maisha yangu mina kupa wetawala.
Ombi langu faraja, imani yangu ibada, neema yako msaada. Ombi langu faraja, imani yangu ibada, neema yako msaada. Faraja, faraja, ibada, ibada, msaada, msaada. Faraja, faraja, ibada, ibada, msaada, msaada.
Flow ya Aaron iko underway. Ninachofanya una bless my way. Wani mwangaza even when the clouds are gray. Wanirudisha hata nikigo astray. Misi worry, mina pray. Very early, a killer day. On the daily, mi nita set my alarm. Mina jenga na wewe na your foundation ni firm. Maombi ni ibada, na magoti ndiyo njia kukupata. Daily, nipate nikisala, maisha yangu mina kupa wetawala. Say maombi ni ibada, na magoti ndiyo njia kukupata. Daily, nipate nikisala, maisha yangu mina kupa wetawala.
Ombi langu faraja, imani yangu ibada, neema yako msaada. Ombi langu faraja, imani yangu ibada, neema yako msaada. Faraja, faraja, ibada, ibada, msaada, msaada. Faraja, faraja, ibada, ibada, msaada,
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
So that was Ombi by Shani and One for You by Fee. Yeah, I had lied to you guys. That was Kesho by Bridget Blue, One for You by Fee, and Ombi by Shani. Okay, we're going to figure this out. I stay lying, guys. I try not to lie, but once in a while. Najua tu hapo kulikuwa na Ombi by Shani. Hiyo niko sure. Already. So we have just addressed leadership and youth just based on the conversations that were being had in those spaces, because a lot of what I saw was people want to learn, but they don't know what to do. And that's what we've just been saying, that we need to take up positions. We need to continue protesting vizuri intentionally, which isn't protesting, but doing the work in our communities and making sure that this conversation is not ending. Now, when it comes to another thing that came about is sasa kazi. So hustle culture versus mental health. Yeah? When did rest become a luxury? Ladies and gentlemen, when did rest become a luxury? Because something that was evident is the constant need for work and labor. And we're going to look at why. Why is that? Why do we feel the need to constantly be up on the go? And is it that we feel the need, or is it that we don't have options? So that's what I want to know. That's what I want to understand. So if you're not grinding 24/7, society makes you feel like a failure. Why? Why do we actually shame people for resting but celebrate burnout? It's not a flex. Burnout is actually not a flex. And a good example of this is that one of our local stars, Elsa Majimbo, openly said that she needed a break from nonstop work. And instead of applauding her for protecting her peace, some Kenyans, a lot of them, dragged her for wasting opportunities. Poleni, guys, but that's poverty mentality, because Elsa Majimbo has more than enough opportunities. She has property in California, in LA, Los Angeles. Like, what are you actually telling her? She lives Uko, Hollywood. She's there brushing shoulders with the stars. She is the stars. So if she says she needs rest, her landlord isn't on her door asking for rent. Stima zake has a beep, ati hana tokens. Do you understand? We need to understand that it's not healthy and that it's okay for you to be resting. It's okay for you to take a break from your labor. And a good question is, why do we celebrate people when they overwork but criticize them when they rest? So this was particularly evident in 2020, again, when Elsa was at the height of her success. She was constantly working and sharing her humorous takes online. And despite being an aspiration and inspiration to many, when she took a break, the backlash was swift. And this particular response actually highlights the problem with hustle culture. People are expected to constantly perform, even at the expense of their mental health. Why? You're dying, but lakini endelea. It is poverty. We need to defeat poverty, because living in a culture that glorifies work means that there's a reason why you need to stay working. Because if you don't work now, hakuna rent, you can't buy a piece of land, you're forever going to be a victim of rent. You don't have healthy transportation systems. There's a lot of people who would never take an Uber anywhere because they can afford matatus. And they can only afford matatus. And even though once in a while wanaweza kuwa na tuso ama thriso ya hiyo bike, wanaona it's too much. Because of poverty mentality, because you don't realize that you need a change of scenery and landscape in order for you to refresh your mindset. And if you stay in the same scenario, you stay with the same scenery, your view doesn't change. Let me tell you, it's very hard for your perspective to change. So if you're looking to upgrade your mindset when it comes to the lifestyle that you have, you need to see what other people are doing. Once in a while, you need to save up enough money to go and eat that plate of food that you normally cannot afford. You need to budget for what you cannot afford. You need to be willing to spend that 1,000 bob that you're going to finish on one meal, when that 1,000 bob inaweza kuwa imekununulia chakula ya a whole week or 2 weeks. Why? because you need something to aspire to. You need a standard to walk up towards and see that it's possible. You don't need to stay at that same level. And Elsa is somebody who has realized this. Lakini Matusi alipata because she said she needs to take a break. That's poverty mentality. The fact that we can't accept that there are people who are privileged enough to take a rest. And what we need to do is to normalize balance, to get out of that rut of thinking that people are lazy for resting, because are they asking you for money? If they're not asking you for money, let them. Don't be bitter. If it wasn't your opportunity, don't be bitter. Be aspire to that. Be motivated, be encouraged that that's possible for you too, that you can get to a point where you don't need to take every single opportunity, because you don't need to be a slave to work in order for you to live a healthy life. There's a different way to do it. You just figure it out. But if you spend all of your energy insulting people that they can afford to rest, they can afford to take a break, utawai fika uko. You hear? So we need to normalize balance. We need to have workplaces and schools and churches that stop glamorizing burnout, okay? Our mental health needs to be prioritized as much as physical health, because nowadays we realize people are not okay. And therapy and mental health leave should be mandatory in workplaces, not just self-care webinars, because those ones also feel like labor. And the concept of mental health days should be integrated into our work culture. And we need to embrace the fact that resting is essential for long-term productivity. It is essential. And let's not forget, even our greatest leaders took breaks. We have Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs. These are very rich people who, whether you like what they're doing or not, whether they're alive or not, they actually were living their best lives, and they all knew when to step back and actually recharge. How can girls do this? How can we prioritize our mental health and not idolize burnout, not idolize hustle culture to our detriment? We need to prioritize self-care. Women often bear they get burnout from the brunt of familial, social, as well as professional pressures. And it's essential to make time for rest. You can't pour from an empty cup, ma'am. Women need to redefine hustle culture by embracing balance, not burnout. We also need to normalize mental health conversations. So we need to have conversations in our circles, at work, in church, and with friends, where we teach each other that mental health spaces are not a luxury, but a necessity. And we need to speak up about the importance of rest, as well as break the stigma surrounding self-care. You're not spoiled or materialistic when you actually care about self-care. There's a lot that you do when it comes to pouring into yourself in these spaces. We also do need to be setting boundaries. We need to learn how to say no, and set clear boundaries between work, family, as well as personal time. And your worth is not tied to your output. Unasikia? Your worth is not tied to your output. However, in this society, your worth is tied to your productivity. And that is why we shame people, because we see them as worthless when they do less. But if this person can make more by doing less, why are we shouting at them? There's something we haven't understood. Another conversation that we were having is about sexual and reproductive health. Why are we still afraid to talk about these things? We need to talk about women's rights. When it comes to sexual and reproductive health rights, we need to talk about these things. That was one of the biggest discussions at PDF 2025. And let's be real, why are we still treating women's issues like it's a forbidden topic? It's just for the women. What really made me happy is the amount of men that I saw at the sexual and reproductive health rights village. There were so many young men, and that made me so happy, because we normally think that sexual and reproductive health is normally just for women. I love the fact that I saw so many young men, and I'm very proud of Gen Zs, very proud of the younger millennials that are showing us that they care about these issues, and that these issues are global conversations for everybody, and not just issues for women. So in 2019, when the Kenyan government tried introducing comprehensive sex education, religious groups nearly rioted. I am a religious person, you guys know. Lakini, at which point are we thinking that it's okay to deny children comprehensive sexual education. Because tell me why there's kids in this country, adults, who think that wearing 2 condoms is double protection, and rinsing and hanging the condom outside in the sun. Those are things that are happening. Mashinani, these are things that are happening in the slums. People are rinsing condoms and hanging them. People are using double condoms, thinking that, no, this is, of course, double protection. Because they were never offered comprehensive sex ed. So it is complete ignorance. It has nothing to do with religion. The question is, what are they being taught? And that's where I'm at, to regulate what they're being taught, but not to deny kids sexual education. That is denying them of part of their humanity, because a big part of us, really a big part of us, has to do with our reproductive system. So we need to know what's going on. We need to know how to better take care of ourselves. Yes. And these religious groups argued that this would encourage promiscuity amongst the youth. Okay, so refusing to teach kids sex ed, has it curbed promiscuity? Actually, studies show the opposite, that proper education reduces risks. So how do we actually balance education as well as cultural values? Because I do understand that this comes from a standpoint of fear. It's not, us wanting to destroy our youth, but the ignorance and us fearing sexual education is actually going to destroy our youth, because when you don't teach them, somebody else will. So this is what I would say to religious groups. Teach sexual education. Don't just ignore it. And teach it within your cultural values and your cultural systems, but let it be comprehensive. Because if you don't, somebody else will. Ukwenja, kids are learning about sex from pornography. They're learning about sex from, unfortunately, their own experiments. And I mean kids, I don't mean adults. And a lot of these times is because these conversations are not being had, because honestly, kids should not be having sex. Children are not old enough to bear all of the mental, emotional, psychosocial, and physical impact of having sex. They are not. But they're still having it, and they're learning it, because we are not having enough conversations where we allow these kids to express themselves, ask questions. One of the very interesting conversations that we had, one of the most interesting conversations that we had is at the Nisisi Nisasa village. There was a mock election that was done. And the girl that was voted for president, got voted into power, said that they want to have the reproductive, Form 3 lessons on reproductive health practically. That's what she said. She was voted in. There were about 80 to 90 young high schoolers, mostly Form 4s. And they were very happy when she said this, that they want to do those practicals. They want to have sex practically. They want to find out for themselves. They don't want to be told in theory. So you want to tell me that this is somebody who has been taught vizuri and had conversations and understood. Because if she is confident enough to stand on a stage and give 80 to 90 of her colleagues reasons as to why to vote for her, she is intelligent enough to understand, has enough charisma to be persuasive. Then why does she not have proper education? It is because we lack this kind of education. Yeah? And this tension between education and cultural values has been a big issue for a long time. And in rural areas to be particular, talking about SRHR is seen as taboo. And this only worsens when it's linked to political agendas. Yeah, because that's another thing. Because now political agendas is what is bringing sexual and reproductive health to kids. That's a shame. Shame on us. Shame on us. And young people in Kenya need clear, factual, and unbiased sexual education that helps them make informed decisions. Let them know this is what happens. Let them know. In my high school, I went to high school in Botswana. And in my high school, we had a teacher who came with a wooden figure that represented a penis. It was a wooden penis. And she showed us how tunaweza valisha your penis a condom. and told us that now if you do this, this won't work. If you do this, this won't work. And don't be lied to. Alafu, we had conversations and we shared some of the rumors, some of the things that you've heard. Is it true that if you have sex standing up, you can't get pregnant? Is it true that if a boy touches your boobs, you'll get pregnant? And we're able to demystify all these things. So in my particular class, and this is Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, before you even get to Form 4 and finish high school, because there we had Form 4, Form 5 as well. At no point is anybody getting pregnant because they don't know what happens. You understand that even if there was no penetration, as long as the semen is anywhere near the vagina, you can become pregnant because it can end up inside. Yeah? And these are things that we had discussions about. There was no shame. You could ask questions because at the end of the day, best believe it, we still had teenage pregnancy, a couple in our school. We had girls that got pregnant. People were still having sex anyway. But us having these conversations actually gave you information because this is a question I have. So you think denying kids what is their right in sexual education is going to stop them? It doesn't. But what you do is that if these kids are going to have sex anyways, now they are having safe sex where you're avoiding teenage pregnancy, where you're avoiding a lot of stupidity, and these people are able to protect themselves and say, no, that's not true. I know that if we do this, I'm going to get pregnant. And now they know that an abortion is not supposed to be a good option, because it has these consequences. And we talked about all those things. So at no point was I deceived to think that, oh, yeah, it's easy. It's okay to just have an abortion. It's like, it's my choice. I can do it. But what are the repercussions? I understood that traumatizes the body because it's not a natural process. I understood that in high school. I was not being taught from a religious standpoint. I was not being taught from a cultural standpoint. But I understood that medically, an abortion is not a natural process. An abortion is supposed to be a last option. So that is an example of what happens when you have good sex ed, is that you're able to make informed decisions and not to be deceived by people that have agendas, political agendas, religious agendas. What say you? It's easy for kids to make their own decisions because they know the truth. And once they have a good foundation, they're able to go and add on to their own research and say, actually, that's not what I was taught. So how come Sisi tuliambiwa XYZ? You give me points. By the time I'm being lied to by somebody about abortions, by the time I'm being lied to by somebody about the menstrual cup, about IUDs, about the coil, about condoms, I already have something that I know about it that I could use to ask. RHR are often suppressed in the name of morality. It is immoral not to teach your kids sex ed. Let's make it normal to talk about women's health openly and without shame. Kindly. This is biology. We're saying teach kids biology. We're not saying teach them to have young girls. We need to make sure that young women have access to information about their bodies and rights, because unfortunately we're the ones that bear the heavier brand of not having our sexual rights, a sexual education, not knowing about our reproductive health. We're the ones that carry babies. Women are more prone to STDs and sexually transmitted diseases because of our anatomy. This I learned in Form 1. I was 14 years old when I learned that women are more prone to STDs because of the anatomy of the vulva and the vagina. It is easier for us to contract these things more than a guy because of the surface area of our private parts. Not to mean that guys won't get it, but that it is easier for me as a woman. Yes? And also it has a bigger repercussion because I am the one that might want one day to bear a child, and which means that if I have an STD, I bear a greater risk of not being able to reproduce in future if that's something that I wanted. So as a woman, it empowered me to get this information, because if at any point somebody wanted to approach me, I would have been like, no. Hizi vitu zenu mimi staki. I'm not ready to have sex. I'm not interested. In fact, this is a danger to my health, so I'm not interested. If I was to have a baby outside of me wanting to have a baby, outside of the plan that I have, which for me is marriage, the confines of somebody that loves me and wants to carry that responsibility, I'm not interested in ruining my future for that. And not to mean that when you have a baby that your future is ruined, but let's not play dumb. Having a baby changes your life drastically. So we need to empower young ladies with this information because it impacts their health and their livelihoods, their lives directly. And then we also need to stand in leadership positions where women need to run and hold roles in health policy spaces to advocate for gender sensitive healthcare reforms, as well as push for SRHR education in schools, as well as across communities, especially for marginalized groups. Kitu ingine tuliongelelea that I want to briefly talk about. That's one of the things that I saw very important that was discussed in PDF is where does our money go? Where does our money go? Pesa yetu inaenda wapi? Public finance. That was one of the villages. Every government promises a fiscal responsibility. True or true? But they still overspend. And where's the money? So one of the discussions that were held in the youth village is about money. Where is the debt that you have? And one of the overwhelming responses is, Sio mimi. I'm not the one who spent that money. So who spent it and where did it go? What was it spent on? Because I am being told I have debt, yet I didn't spend any money. That's a ridiculous concept. Now, in 2023, we found out that the government was spending 2 billion on luxury perks like a State House kitchen, while public hospitals were begging for money. And you see how they want to close down hospitals that Wananchi have set up? Whether it's to make money or to actually cater, you're closing down hospitals, yet you're not maintaining the ones that you have made available. Interesting. And meanwhile, the same 2023, teachers in Kenya were protesting against poor pay and working conditions. Poor pay and poor working conditions. And this shows that there was a lack of balance in government spending, and it has remained to be an issue. Kenya's budget allocations in sectors such as health, education, and infrastructure continue to be underfunded, while unnecessary government spending takes precedence. So the government spending needs to be curated. We need to have reports that should be made clear and accessible, and not just buried in 500-page PDFs that nobody reads. Because truly, whenever did you pick up a 500 PDF document and say to yourself, let me spend the afternoon going through our government spending? I'm so glad. 500? No, when we talk about access, this is not what we're talking about, yeah? We need real-time budget tracking dashboards that show exactly where public funds are going. We need transparency. That is key. Transparency is key, and citizens need to know how their taxes are being spent so they can hold their leaders accountable. And as activists, we should push for transparency, and citizens must demand for more from their leaders to ensure that their money is being spent in ways that directly benefit them. And for the girlies, we need to demand transparency by holding the government accountable for how money is spent, particularly in areas that impact families and women's welfare. Because tell me why tampons and pads are still being taxed and considered luxury items. Luxury tax on pads and tampons. Shame on all of you that hold power and have influence to make these changes. And shame on us for not fighting hard enough. We need to support accountability movements by joining and organizing movements that call for fiscal responsibility, especially in sectors such as healthcare as well as education, where women are often the primary consumers. Yeah? And we also need to invest in financial literacy. We need to be educating ourselves and other women on how to track public spending and demand accountability, which means having information. We need to empower women to be the watchdogs of their own communities. So something about us, girlies, in this Kenyan community is that the way that politics run, accountability and leadership is very cultural, in that we easily take a step back to allow men to make decisions. And how many decades or centuries do we need? Let me say decades. Post-colonially, how many decades has it been since men have been running our country? And I don't mean them just taking up positions of leadership, but positions of leadership politically, key positions that actually influence how we get to live our everyday lives. And the issue is not men, the issue is the culture, the issue is the patriarchy, the issue is a toxicity that does not allow proper accountability, that is not objective, that is not representative. The issue is not who, it is what. And so when you look at the what, you need to look at the how, So this has been happening. How did it happen? And now when we get to the how, then we need to go back to the who. Because you start asking which person. And then when you realize that the majority of the people in power have been men, and hence we've not been having representative policies and all of that, then you need to start changing. You start to change the who, maybe that will change the what. Because the how now depends on the who. Are we together? I really sincerely hope that we're together. So women, we need to show up. We need to stop taking a step back, because when systems don't work and we keep the same systems and we just recycle the players, that doesn't make any sense. We need to change the systems entirely, meaning that we need different voices. Ladies, we need to get our voices in there. Young people, we need to get our voices in there. And if you're a young man watching this conversation, then you too have struggled, have suffered from what's happening, because our leaders have not cared about us for a long time. They just recycle the same buzzwords. They recycle the same things over and over again. They tell us that they are going to dismantle this and they're going to dismantle that. And when they come into power, they're going to fix this and they're going to fix that. And 5 years, 10 years down the line, 2 terms later, they have looted all our money and left our nation in a worse state. Every government, from Kibaki's to Uhuru's to Ruto's, has deteriorated significantly since 2010 and our new constitution. If you've been Kenyan long enough, then you know that this is true. So I'm not very pleased with that situation, and I would have to say that we need to actually bring that change. And our 2010 constitution was celebrated as groundbreaking, as one of the most balanced, on paper, best constitutions in the world, one of the best. But how many of its progressive policies have actually been fully implemented? How many? And a good conversation is just the start. So the People's Dialogue Festival is just the start of that conversation. The real work actually happens in the execution. These conversations are important, but how are we going to execute? So Kenya's devolution process, for example, has shown that while constitution changes are significant, the real change lies in how governments, especially at the county level, implement those policies. So we need to be very intentional when we talk about fiscal responsibility. Yes, public finance is one of the key issues that was raised. Sexual and reproductive health rights, we need to focus on that as well. We also need to look at mental health and hustle culture and the culture that we have as a nation as to why we are uncomfortable with taking a rest, and the space there is for young people in leadership. Those are some of the biggest conversations that were had at the People's Dialogues Festival, and we're going to see how many of the other conversations we are going to continue highlighting here on Sheversations and across our different power radio shows. So for me, that has been it for today. Let me know what you think about this conversation. Power Radio across all the socials. On Instagram, I'm Caroline_Murote. On Facebook and X, I am at Caroline Murote. And on TikTok, I am at Carol, Carol Murote. And I'm going to leave this conversation there for today, and I'm going to be seeing you guys on Friday. Let me know what's up, and let me know if you have somebody that you'd love for me to have a conversation with. You have something that you want us to talk about, you know where to hit us up. So yes, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I'm going to see you guys on Friday.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
This is Hendrix Sound.
Misikatai, unanidai, akiwalahi, ninaogopa sitadinai. I want you to lie, ni vile I'm trying to find good love, baby. I'll be the one for one for you. The one for you. Mpenzi utangoja, yeah. Mpenzi utangoja, yeah, yeah. Sitaki we uchoke, yeah. Sitaki we uchoke, yeah. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. If you wait for me, I don't need nobody else. I'm trying to find good love, maybe, maybe, and I'll be the one for you.
Big up 23 ile mtami utaka na hii nyingine jo, na hii nyingine jo. Hey, washaweka bounty, ju flow killer. Beat imeoga, kiopina. Nina mazai kwako tu za topina. Na vile niko ndani mzee I'm so ina. Si take shots na bareda. Critics hawawezi kunispot under radar. Na bring the house down, I'm a tremor. Na leta fire, I'm a flamer. Na rusha moto mo. Na shikata wazai na mamokoro. So na Jesus na songa I still. Roga shetani na mbaki sogo, mosodo. Don't whine, wabambiki juu Mungu anameja na maina. Na feel ni kinda I'm in refine, I'm fine. Mokori ni jeso imebaki na saika. Sishiki kijo, sishiki kijo. I'm in refine, I'm fine. Cause you get that, mina cry sweet aita. Sishiki kijo, na sitishiki jo. I'm in refine, I'm fine. Cause you get that, mina cry sweet aita. Iko nini sina tabu, siko steam manyaru. Mziki mekoma, iko fit kuitwa babu. Fishers of men kwa hizi streets mi ndio nyavu. Alright, hii ndio sababu. I got the juice madafu. Maji kwa mi majabu. Amefura utadhani taksin mashavu. Nina mwamba si ababu. Shaito simfil kalamu. Washed by his blood, damu. Kauna ni feel, usishushe yo hamu. Na don't whine, na wabambiki vile Mungu anameja na maina. Na feel ni kinda I'm in refine, I'm fine. Mokori ni jeso imebaki na saika. Sishiki kijo, sishiki kijo. I'm in refine, I'm fine. Cause you get that, mina cry sweet aita. Sishiki kijo, na sitishiki jo. I'm in refine, I'm fine. Cause you get that, mina cry sweet aita. Giggling with the bass, street legit, I'm bringing the heat. Steady wind, the one and the feel. Wicked, honey, my face, see that sponsor, and lip my bill. I'm sticking the rail, we kicking in Christ, you know the drill. Blah, woo. So I'm back in the dojo, you in the Lord. Kwa hearing, ukipenda nite Frodo. Shetani anabashwa, anateta zima moto. Kuna life after death, sielewi hii yolo. Okay, hichoki art giveaway. Madam tuko chocho, put your back into it. So lazima post nude, ama utwak kujue. Na kile una post, put your fact into it. Woo. Hichoki art giveaway. Madam tuko chocho, put your back into it. So lazima, we utwak kujue. Na kile una post, work a fact into it. Sishiki kijo, sishiki kijo. I'm in refine, I'm fine up. Cause you get that, mina cry sweet aita. Sishiki kijo, na Nasty shikijo. I mean it fine and fine. But you get that in a cry sweet tighter. Say she kikijo. Say she kikijo. I mean it fine and fine. But you get that in a cry sweet tighter. Say she kikijo. Nasty shikijo. I mean it fine and fine. But you get that in a cry sweet tighter. 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 In a cry sweet tighter.
Lights up my face, you're driving me up and down. I'm scared what you're doing to me. I get a rush, am I allowed to love you? I get a high from just thinking about you. I'm on the edge. It's like you're breaking my heart in two. Now see you, nitafanya nini? The way you're messing with my head made me masikini. Sijui nitafanya nini. The way you're messing with my head made me masikini. Oh, oh, baby, I gave you every bit of my heart. And what you gonna do? You went and threw it away. I did it all for your love. I try my best to act real cool. Instead I'm acting like a fool. What am I gonna do? Judging by the way I feel, I don't know who and what is real. The love that you give to me is a reality. It's like I'm high in the sky on a drug messed up. I'm waiting on a cure to this illness stuck on you. I just don't know what to do. Now see you, nitafanya nini? The way you're messing with my head, mimi masikini. See you, nitafanya nini? The way you're messing with my head, mimi masikini. Oh baby, I gave you every bit of my heart. What you gonna do? You went and threw it away. I did it all for your love. I try my best to act real cool. Instead I'm acting like a fool. What am I gonna do? I'm crazy cause baby unavyofanana. Kila saa tunapokutana, you make my head go banana. Ooh Lord, I'm crazy.
from sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.